guys, welcome back to Sinfully Scented. I'm Rebecca, and in today's video I am sharing with you the making and cutting of my Succulent garden soap. I've made a lot of soap over the years, and I have to say this one is probably one of my favorites, and it's likely because of the fragrance that I used. I used Baja Cactus Blossom from the Flaming Candle, and it's hands down one of my favorite fragrances that I've ever had the pleasure of working with. It smells fantastic, and it was a dream to work with. It actually slowed down trace, so if you're looking to do a design with a lot of fancy swirls, this is a good one. However, keep in mind that it does discolor yellow. It's actually more yellow in person than it is in the video, so it might look a little bit cream colored, but it is very yellow, so keep that in mind when designing your swirls. Let me start off by saying that this is actually my second attempt at making this soap. The first one, I wouldn't call it an epic fail, but the first one was not the greatest. So I did a slanted layer design, and I did a really steep water discount in order to make sure the layers set up really strongly in between each pore. But due to the water discount, my layers actually didn't stick to each other. Yeah, that happened. So my layers fell apart, and I did do a mica line as well, but I don't think that the mica line was the main culprit for the layers falling apart. I really do think it's a water discount, because even the layers that did not have a mica line fell apart. The colorants that I used were all from Nurture Soap Supplies. I used New Leaf Mica, Iris Purple, Sea Green, and Raspberry Red. And I also used titanium dioxide, which you can purchase just about anywhere. Mine personally came from Bulk Apothecary. And as always, check the description box below. I'm going to include my exact recipe in the description box, as well as links to any products that I mentioned in this video. I'm not being paid by any of these companies. I'm just a small YouTuber who's trying to grow a soap making business, and I want to share as much information as possible with the people who support me. And don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to this channel. I put out a new video every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. My goal for 2019, as I've said before, is to make one new video a week. Some weeks there will be 2, maybe even 3 videos. This week there is 2. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. I made this soap in 3 batches. On the first day, I made the succulent flowers to go on top of the soap. I started with my basic cold process soap recipe and brought it to a thin trace or emulsification. I then split it into 4 batches, which I colored with the sea green, raspberry red, iris purple, and titanium dioxide. I mixed in the colors well and set this aside to firm up for a couple of hours until I got stiff peaks and could pipe my flowers. I'm not going into a lot of detail on how I piped the individual succulents because I actually followed a tutorial myself, so I'm going to link you to the tutorial that I followed down below. I did put my own twist on the tutorial though, because it was a cookie tutorial, and working with soap is a lot different than working with royal icing. But I was able to use her video as a guide for creating my own succulents for my soap. I then piped a variety of succulents on a flower nail on small pieces of freezer paper, which I then set aside for 48 hours to set up before making my main soap. After 48 hours, you'll want to store the embeds in a freezer bag or airtight container to prevent them from drying out, otherwise they might not adhere to the top of your soap. So here we are a couple days later, and I'm making the base of the soap. So again, with my basic cold process soap recipe, and I'm just adding some titanium dioxide to this. Although it didn't make that much of a difference, the soap still turned pretty yellow. and I am adding in the fragrance oil, and it really slows things down. It's a lovely fragrance to work with. As far as trace goes, it performs beautifully. And then I'm just adding in my soap shreds, and I added in a couple of handfuls at first just to make sure that they didn't clump up together, and they didn't, so then I just dumped the rest of it in there, mixed it all in, and poured it in the mold. And the final step to this soap was just adding my embeds on top. So I just placed them on there the best way that I could to get as many embeds on the top of the soap as possible. And then I let this sit overnight and unmolded it the next morning.